Part 4, return to competition. I must start by telling y'all, this one isn't going to be quite as friendly as the last. And I'm going to try not to ramble on or get too fired up, which I should be able to do. But I'm going to reference some people here that may not appreciate it. Again, I'm not going to name names, but I'll reference teams and you'll be able to figure out who it is. The situation I'm going to talk about was somewhat of an attack on me, my team, other athletes. So if I get a little off target, I might have to edit this video, hopefully not. Either way, I'm going to speak honestly and candidly. Frankly, I'm not worried about getting canceled by anyone for telling the truth and about a situation in my perspective. So Friday starts with a tribute for Lazar. And honestly, it wasn't what we were all expecting. It was pretty disappointing from our experience. I think we wanted to see some kind of a video, a montage, pictures, music, some kind of highlight, something to remind us a little bit more. It was literally just an in and moment of silence and then right out, with a lot of buildup and a lot of emotion attached. After that, we left, and I know there was more on the broadcast side, but we weren't aware of that as athletes on the floor. Every athlete probably felt the same way, that this wasn't enough, or what we were promised from the CrossFit staffers, telling us they would take care of it. But that aside, we knew we had to put that aside at the moment and go out there to compete. Our team was competing in about 45 minutes, and we still had to warm up. This was going to be the first heat to start the games for the teams, and it was time for us to get focused on what we came here to do. We got warmed up and headed to the secondary warm-up area. They usually hold us there. It's about 10 minutes, I think. There's 10 teams in the heat, so they have us hang out there until we go to the corrals, whereas you just wait and stand for about 5 minutes. A few minutes before we're supposed to head to the corrals and take the floor, the team captain from the Rhino team comes up to me and asks if we're willing to delay our start by 1 minute. I'm like, why? Where is this coming from? What for? You got to remember, I'm in the place where I'm about to compete. I've warmed up, I'm hot, I'm ready to get started. First workout for us, a lot of emotion. People come up to you and asking you questions just in the moment. It's pretty hard to handle, but I quickly told them no and moved on to getting my team finished warming up and prepared. A few minutes go by, only a couple. Like I said, we didn't have long. We're getting notified that they were going into the corrals in 1 minute. This little blonde girl from the Peak 360 team and someone else from our European team comes up to me asking me, why won't you wait 1 minute? Everyone else is willing to wait but you. And I asked them the same questions that I asked the last guy that asked me that. And their responses were, to me, unacceptable. In my opinion, they just wanted to show some kind of solidarity and tell CrossFit, F you, for not doing enough, because people were upset again about the tribute from the morning, which I understood, but I wasn't going to overreact in the moment. And if you don't believe me that that's what they were trying to do, or what she was saying to me, I can tell you that's pretty much exactly her words from the night before, when we were all grouped up and they were talking about CrossFit. There's plenty more that I could repeat, and I won't repeat, because I don't think it's acceptable and not something I really want to emulate to other people and talk about. I replied by telling them, these two, one, I and we have not discussed this as a group in any conversation on Thursday, the day before, or today and Friday. Not that we had much time anyways. Two, you can't guarantee me everyone is willing to participate in what you're talking about in the remaining heats, seeing how we were the first, and then there was a second, and then a third heat to come. And then three, I don't agree with what you're trying to do. Still, this wasn't enough to satisfy their attack on me and my team. So I told her, stop trying to bully me. She replies, "You're the one trying to bully us." Perspective. I calmly told her, "I am not trying to make you feel any certain way. Certainly not the way I feel. But you are attempting to make me feel the same way as you and act like you." She stormed off in disgust with her little friend, and that was the end of that, I thought. I turned around quickly to check with my teammates to make sure we were all good. I usually speak for the team a lot of times. My group's pretty quiet. But I wanted to make sure they were all unified still in this, and that nothing had changed from what we had talked about in the past. And amongst our four, it was really easy for that discussion. There was no change. Moving on to the corrals, we usually wait here, like I said, for about 5 minutes before taking the floor. First thing we do is pray as a team every time we get into the corrals. During this time, or as we finished, an idea came up, or somebody had said something about everyone taking a knee after the event when you finish. Again, in some show or sign of solidarity. We were about to take the floor. I really quickly agreed, but I was pretty hesitant immediately after I said, okay. I wasn't sure what the message we were trying to send, if what there was. I quickly added that and changed the tone to where I would prefer and would like to pray as a team or a group on the floor. And I think that would be a better message that we could send, if there is any message to send, just showing that solidarity and unity. Nobody had to join if they didn't want to, just an opportunity to do that. Wasn't trying to take away from anything from people trying to take a knee, just I wanted to do something different, and we were going to do it, and if people wanted to join us, they could. I felt this was a way we could all come together and support, rather than just trying to pressure people into performing acts that they weren't comfortable with. It seemed like everyone agreed, but you never know what's going to happen when things start. Right before we hit the floor, I reminded my team that some people in this heat may not be starting with us. Maybe they will wait. I told them not to get distracted by what others are doing or not doing. The event goes, and results aside or whatever, the event finishes and most athletes hit a knee, and then we start coming together to pray. I stood up quickly and tried to call everybody in, because I knew that they had told us in the corrals that we would have only about a minute after the event to do whatever we wanted to do, and CrossFit was granting us that time. We all came together, and honestly, I can't recall exactly what was said. I did lead the prayer. It kind of caught me off guard, to be honest. I hadn't really thought about leading this prayer or had any time to prepare. I didn't know what I was going to say. Whatever it was, I don't recall exactly, and I'm not going to try to share that. I know it came straight from the heart, and I hope it was what people wanted to hear, or at least needed to hear and see. In the following heat, the second heat, all the teams started on time with no delay. We were watching it, wondering what was going to happen. And then in the third heat, in the final heat, all the teams delayed except for one. They all waited 1 minute, and only one team started on time. CrossFit Mayhem was that only team that didn't start. I'm sorry, the only team that did start on time. It was a weird moment, to say the least. You could see on the faces of the athletes, this was not a decision that everyone on the teams agreed with. In discussions later with some of the members of the teams involved, it was obvious that the decision was not unanimous amongst all the teams and all the people on the teams. I know for a fact some of the people did it because they felt peer pressured by their peers to participate. That alone is something I refuse to be a part of. I'm a 36-year-old man. I've been a husband for over a decade. I got 3 beautiful children. I feel it's my responsibility to lead by example for my family, friends, and anybody else that is looking at me for something. I'm aware that people are watching, always. You do that. You understand that when you have 3 kids. Listen to every word that you say every day. I won't have my morale, my morals, my values, my beliefs manipulated by tirades from irrational people. During our break between events, I purposely went over and found the captain of the Mayhem team. This is the only team that started the event on time in the third and final heat, while everybody stood there for a minute. I told him that I respected what they did, and I knew that it couldn't have been an easy decision necessarily when everybody else in your heat was choosing to wait. A lot of people weren't going to tell him that message, I think. Some might, but I felt a responsibility to go over there and say something and at least let him know that he had our support, and I appreciated what they did, knowing that it was a hard decision.